So here we go, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Meet the Oppo, the series where I get the lowdown on Town's next opponent, which is on Easter Monday against Cheltenham Town at Whaddon Road, or the complete Suzuki Stadium, I think it's called. I'm here with Jon, the man who covers all things Cheltenham Town. Jon, thanks for joining me. How's things?
All good. Yeah, it takes a bit of getting used to that new stadium name, doesn't it? Completely Suzuki Stadium, but that's what it's been since the start of this season. So a lot of fans will still call it Whaddon Road, but whatever it's called, we're looking forward to welcoming Ipswich along on Monday.
Was it Johnny Rock Stadium or something like that last year?
Yeah, Johnny Rock Stadium for a few years. It's had a few names, and yeah, Whaddon Road really, but completely Suzuki. I'm sure they're putting a few quid in, so fair play to them.
Yeah, it's not a bad name to say, actually. It just slips on the tongue like that. But Jon, Cheltenham Town, sort of recap the last few months. An informed side, manager up for a Manager of the Year award, month award, not a year, well, you never know. But yeah, recap the last few months. Some good results, a 3-0 win against Peterborough, drew against Sheffield Wednesday, we're 2-0 up at one stage. But yeah, recap the last few months, my friend.
Yeah, even though there's a little bit of a slip of the tongue there, Ross, I do think Wade Elliott could be in consideration for Manager of the Year because what he's done over in a very difficult situation, taking over from Michael Duff, having some very difficult bumps on the road this season. There have been some difficult times, but March was a brilliant month for Cheltenham. You mentioned the Peterborough game. That was probably Cheltenham's best all-round performance of the season. Alfie May scored 2 absolute wonder goals, but it was just a really good all-round performance. 2-0 up at home to Sheffield Wednesday last Wednesday, looking like they were going to cause a major upset. It was a really weird feeling after that game because you don't normally concede 2 goals from 2-0 up and still go away quite happy. But it wasn't that bad, the feeling at the end, because it was Sheffield Wednesday and the size of the club and everything like that. So that was certainly a bonus point, really. But they've moved themselves nicely clear of the relegation zone just at the right time with that run in March. Going at the end of February, things were pretty tense. It was looking a bit dodgy. The fans were a little bit on Wade Elliott's back. They'd gone through a run of games where they conceded 10 in 3 games and not scored, albeit against Derby, a very, very informed Barnsley team, and they'd been to Portsmouth away as well. So it was a difficult run, but the pressure was on. And they had Fleetwood at home, and I think it was a real tense afternoon. Alfie May always pops up when you need him, scored a brilliant volley, 1-0 win. And since then, the pressure's eased, and Cheltenham have got themselves, going into the Easter weekend, they're 10 points clear, and it looks like they're going to be okay. So Wade Elliott's done a brilliant job. It's been a bit of an up and down season with some real difficult afternoons for him. But overall, considering what he took on, I think he deserves a lot of credit for the way he's gone about the job so far.
Definitely. And of course, this is the second season syndrome for a team getting newly promoted. This is the second season for Cheltenham. He said Michael Duff goes to Barnsley, Wade Elliott comes in, and he's done a really good job. What is you mentioned already, but what is the mood with the fans at the moment? It's some bad results, but some good results. Of course, when they play Town, it was a frustrating afternoon at Portland Road. Town had 30 shots, but Cheltenham got that goal and another big point at Portland Road.
Yeah, that week sort of sums up the season a little bit because Cheltenham lost 7-0 in the League Cup to Exeter right at the start of the season, and everyone was thinking, "Oh, what's going on here?" And then they went to Exeter and won 1-0 soon after that. Then they went and lost to Alfchurch at home in the FA Cup. Following Saturday, go to Portman Road and get a point with a really spirited performance, albeit one of the most one-sided games I've ever seen. Cheltenham did defend for their lives, took the lead completely against a run of play through Ryan Broom, and then it was just heroic, really. But it was a one-sided game, but that sort of fighting spirit has helped them grind their way to that 10-point cushion outside the relegation zone. So if you look historically, Cheltenham's second season, they've only ever once before survived in League One for longer than a year, and they went down in the third season. And the second season was a major struggle, and they stayed up on the last day of the season. If you look at this season as a whole, they've only really been in the bottom 4 for a few days. Last season, they were never really at risk of going down under Duff. Did a brilliant job, deserved his move to Barnsley. He's in contention now to get another promotion on his CV. I'm sure Ipswich will have something to say about that maybe along the way. But it's Wade Elliott to be 10 points clear, to be 16th with 7 games to go over the Easter weekend. He's massively overachieved, I'd say, because he did lose some key players. He did lose arguably the most successful manager in the club's history. Even some of the backroom staff moved on to bigger clubs, and it was very much starting again, really. With some important players still in place, but it needed a lot of work. And he's never lost his head, stayed very calm, consistent. And now I think the fans are loving it. I think, I've got no issue with the fans having a bit of a moan when you lose to Alfchurch and FA Cup. Few difficult runs in the league, but one thing I do feel is that Cheltenham should enjoy this experience a little bit more of, going to Derby in League One just towards the end of February. There were people calling for Wade Elliott to be sacked at Pride Park. Cheltenham on a difficult run, but Cheltenham are playing against Derby County in a league game. Cheltenham playing against Sheffield Wednesday, Ipswich Town in league games. Yes, you can have a bit of a moan when performances are poor, but try and enjoy it, because if all things even out, at some point Cheltenham are going to drop down to League Two. It's just inevitable. Look at the teams that are down at the bottom of the moment, the budgets they've got. It's the teams you'd expect to be down there, really, aren't they? Most of them. Forest Green's first ever season at this level. Morecambe, very small club. Accrington have done brilliantly to stay in there for as long as they have. And Cambridge came up the same year as Cheltenham. So Cheltenham have done well to keep their heads above water, really. And it's, I just think enjoy the adventure. Yeah, aim high, but also realise what Cheltenham are up against budget-wise and history of club and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and of course, the last 2 seasons playing against Town, they've beaten us, and they drew both games, so they're still unbeaten. So this Easter Monday, I'm sure Town fans want to improve on that. But we'll get onto that in a sec, John, in terms of how you're feeling ahead of the game. But let's talk about the players then, John. Alfie May is the one everyone wants to know about. He's been scoring goals once again. His second season, he's shown he can score goals. He still is. Talk about him and talk about any other players you want to mention as well. We'll also mention Elkan Baggott, who's a lone player. Won't be allowed to play in this game because of the loan rule and stuff. But before that, other players.
Yeah, so May will be the one that will catch most people's eyes from the outside. He's got 5 in his last 5. He's got 16 goals this season, 14 in League One. Really just carried on where he left off last season. He got 26 in all competitions last season, 23 in the league. He's actually always been quite a good player for Cheltenham. Really good signing. Only cost £5,000 from Doncaster in January 2020. He did well in League Two, but he really has seemed to enjoy life in League One. His scoring record in League One has been unbelievable. He's broken the club's EFL scoring record. He's got over 50 goals for the club in the EFL now. Previous record was 39. Obviously, Cheltenham haven't been in the EFL for that long, but still pretty good record. He's almost got 1 in 2 throughout his time at Cheltenham, and there are a lot of clubs interested, as you'd expect, in a player of that sort of record. So scored 2 wonder goals against Peterborough away. We mentioned that game earlier. Brilliant volley against Fleetwood. He goes through these purple patches where he just looks like he's going to score in every game, and he's on one of them at the moment. And he's formed a really good partnership with Aidan Keener up front, who came in January from Sligo Rovers, club record signing. He scored in his last 2 games, so those two working really well as a pair. So I'd say keep an eye on him as well. Irish striker, top scorer in the Irish League last season, and he's just starting to get up to speed now after sort of coming in what would have been midway through their pre-season period. So he's looking good. Baggott, he's been a bit unlucky. Came in on loan with a good reputation, massive following from his Indonesian football fans. He's been out on international duty recently, and he's also had a bit of an injury. So he's played once, made his debut at home against Barnsley. Difficult game for everyone, and he certainly wasn't particularly bad in that game. It was just a one-sided game, so it's hard to judge him on that. He did play in a reserve game in the County Cup against Bristol Rovers, against a young Bristol Rovers team, and he scored in that game and showed a bit more about what he's about. He's a big unit, left foot, comfortable on the ball. It's very difficult to make a proper judgment on how ready he is to play regular League One at the moment. And as you said, he won't be involved on Monday, but I'm sure he will play another part, a bit more of a part between now and the end of the season. I know they think very highly of him at Cheltenham.
Yeah, definitely. He's got a big future ahead of him, and as you say, he's got a big following. I think the millions on Instagram and everything like that. And yeah, hopefully he's got a big future ahead of him. We'll probably hopefully catch up, John, at the end of the season to see if he has played the games and do a bit of a loan watch episode on that. So look out for that. If he does play more games, if he doesn't, then oh dear. But yeah, John, how are you feeling then ahead of this game? As I said, Cheltenham are unbeaten against Town in the 3 games. Very frustrating afternoons in both games. At Whaddon Road, of course, there was a 2-1 win back at Cheltenham Town earlier of the season before. Macaulay Bond missing a very big chance, but then the long throw of Ben Tozer, of course, that's gone now. But how are you feeling going into this one? Town going there on Easter Monday.
Yeah, it's amazing, the record, isn't it? You have to go back to the 1930s for Ipswich's last competitive win against Cheltenham in the Southern League. But I remember before the game at Whaddon Road in November, I got taken out to the fan zone and stood up on a stage on a microphone in what felt like about 10,000 Ipswich fans looking at me. And the guy interviewing me asked me what I thought the score was going to be. And I said 0-0, and everyone laughed. And Cheltenham did actually come away with the 1-1, didn't they? An unlikely point that day. The 2-1 at Cheltenham last season was a massive result for Cheltenham because it sort of announced them back in League One. They hadn't won up to that point. Obviously, it was still quite early in the season, but that was like Cheltenham can compete against the big clubs. Like you said, the long throw, both ends of it, the Tozer end and the Will Boyle end, are both gone now. But Cheltenham are going into this is their best run of form of the season. They've had one 5-game unbeaten run in the league just before Christmas. Then they had a bit of a wobble, and now they're going to be going into the Easter weekend unbeaten in 6. So it's probably Ipswich are going to see hopefully the best version of Cheltenham rather than just a shut up shop, which they've seen at Portman Road. I don't think you can really blame Cheltenham for that. I remember the boring Cheltenham chants being particularly loud last season in the midweek visit, the 0-0 under Michael Duff. But Wade Elliott I think he has improved the defensive side of the team this season, which is a bit of a strange one because Michael Duff was a defender himself and very much focused on making them solid to start with. They let in 80 goals last season. That number's come down massively this season, but obviously they haven't found goals scored as easy to come by. Now Alfie May and Aidan Keener are starting scoring. They look like a really good team. They seem to have, for the first time, really, they seem to have found a bit of a formula and a bit of a balance of getting it right at both ends. So I think Cheltenham will be a more attacking proposition than Ipswich faced at Portman Road. I don't think they'll be set up purely to defend. And I think it will be hopefully a bit more of an entertaining game because I can imagine that would have been hugely frustrating to watch both the games at Portman Road would have been hugely frustrating to watch for Ipswich fans. I thought first half last season at Cheltenham, Ipswich were brilliant, and I was thinking this is going to be a long game and it's going to be a long season, but Cheltenham somehow managed to claw their way back in and snatch a win. But sometimes clubs just have these teams that they don't seem to enjoy playing against, and it looks like Cheltenham are a bit of a thorn in the side of Ipswich, but they did Ipswich a bit of a favour with the Sheffield Wednesday result. It's a tightly, as you know, it's a tight ground. The away end and a bit of the side of the ground will be absolutely packed with Ipswich fans. It'll be a good atmosphere. A few extra Cheltenham fans will turn out, I'm sure, for the name of Ipswich and for the Easter bank holiday game. So it should be, I would say, in excess of 5,000. And yeah, it should be one to look forward to. The weather's warming up slightly, isn't it? And it feels like the end of the season is in sight. But these are the sort of games where you feel like things are going to get closer to being decided, and it's going to be interesting. Cheltenham are playing for the highest ever finish. Really, that's their aim now. They've never finished higher than 15th, so that is within their reach. Whereas Ipswich, obviously, the goal is quite clear: try and get promoted if you can. Try and win the league. So yeah, it's going to be a thoroughly interesting afternoon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Easter Monday trip down to Cheltenham. Last time I've gone was of course that defeat, and I'm sure a lot of Town fans want to go back there and get some revenge. But it should be a good, entertaining game. John, any other business you want to add? What is the record like at home games? Is there any other changes? As you said, maybe they go away to frustrate, but at home they want to play a bit of football and entertain their crowd.
Yeah, the home form's been pretty good. They've won more away games this season than they did throughout the whole of last season. They've comfortably beaten that. They've comfortably beaten their clean sheet record from last season. I think they've got 15 now, which is very good. Luke Southwood in goal, on loan from Reading, has been very good. He looks a really good keeper. I think Reading will let him go at the end of the season. There's going to be some decent-sized clubs interested in him. Obviously, you've got the ex-Cheltenham lads in the Ipswich team, which I always find interesting to look at how they're going. Cam Burgess, Wes Burns. Keogh hasn't been playing, has he? No. But he's obviously ex-Cheltenham. But yeah, Cam Burgess, very good defender. Wes Burns, international quality. And I always liked Morsey as a player when he was at Port Vale. He's gone on to have a really good career, obviously Egypt international. And so, yeah, I look forward to seeing those ex-Cheltenham players playing, seeing how they've progressed after playing for Cheltenham right at the start of their career. But yeah, it is the home record's pretty good, but recently Cheltenham have been pretty difficult to beat, home or away. And as you know, right up there in the form guide. But Ipswich have won 7 in a row, so I'm sure they will arrive. They need the win, don't they? Ipswich need to come and win. They can't. Anything other than the win will be seen as a disappointment for Ipswich. So, and that's when you tend to get entertaining games. I don't think Cheltenham will have the same tactics as they had at Portman Road in November, which I think will hopefully give the travelling fans a little bit more hope that it's not going to be as frustrating. It might be a little bit more entertaining to watch. But if Cheltenham do ever go like that, I try not to be too hard on them because, look at some of the players they're up against. But they did go toe-to-toe with Sheffield Wednesday. That certainly wasn't a shut-up shot. So, yeah, I think it will be a more of an open game, hopefully a flowing game and a bank holiday treat for everyone.
Definitely. Well, bring it on, everybody. Hope you enjoy it. John, actually, put you on a spot here. Actually, any advice for some town fans going to their first ever Cheltenham game Easter Monday? Anything changes? Anything around the away ground they should know about? Any places to eat? I know there's a nice chip shop around the corner, so if you fancy that, go there.
Yeah, Simpson's Fish and Chips is pretty good on Priors Road. It's if you get there early enough, it's only a 10-15 minute walk into the town centre. Plenty of decent pubs on the way down. So I would say, try and get there a little bit early. It's one of those grounds, a bit like Ipswich, easy walking distance from town. Some of the more modern grounds stuck out in the middle of nowhere, aren't they? So it's quite a pleasant walk. If you go down to the end of Whaddon Road, turn left onto Prestbury Road, takes you straight down to the high street. So I would have a little look. It's a nice town centre. Ipswich is very nice as well. I've enjoyed my 2 visits there over the last couple of seasons. Obviously, you won't want to be in League One next season, but so I'll miss that if Ipswich do go up. But the away end's good. The away end's probably the best view in the stadium, really, and the atmosphere is good. The home end, they're trying to work on the roof because the noise doesn't come out, so they're trying to do something about that. But the away end, I'm sure it will be very noisy on Monday, and Cheltenham will be trying to keep them a bit quieter and starting the game well.
Yeah, definitely. And as you said, hopefully the weather is going to be nice. Lovely Easter Monday down at Cheltenham. If you are going, enjoy it. If you're not, follow a game with us. Follow a game with John at Gloucestershire Live if you want to get the insight from Cheltenham's point of view. But thanks again for watching Meet the Oppo. John, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, my friend.
Cheers, Ross.